been under fire recently, but perhaps not enough of it because of this photograph that recently surfaced showing him when he was 14 years old among the white students who were attempting to block and intimidate 6 black students from entering the doors of North Little Rock High School in 1957. His quarterback, Dak Prescott, was asked about the photo yesterday.
Obviously, we can be more empathetic and just and give grace, obviously, to one another, regardless of race. Obviously, from the times that we've come from to where we are now, thinking about the growth that we've had. That's who I am. That's how I think. I mean, optimistic, a guy that is completely biracial, black and white. It's easy for me to speak on race on one side or another. In the same sense, it's 65 years ago. And how times have changed. I mean, look at the man's resume since then, right? And as I said, I give grace. And I think that's a conversation and a question not only for him, but for you guys and how y'all feel, how accountable y'all have been and covering and discussing the disparities and differences in race.
Sam?
I love it. I love number one, yes, that Dak called out the media and essentially holding Kyrie specifically to the fire, but not holding Jerry Jones to the fire. And I also love how LeBron called out the media on the exact same issues of saying, okay, we're making this big deal about one, but all the other one, we're toning it down. Now, here's the thing. I get it. 65 years ago was a long time ago, but it was not that long ago where people did not live this and experience it. So it's one thing to talk about it and say, man, I've heard about it, I read about it. There are people who've actually lived this experience. And I wonder what Jerry Jones heard when he was standing in that pictures. I wonder what he said. I wonder what was said around him. I wonder what his parents said to him at the kitchen table when this day was coming up. Those are the things I think about. People like Ruby Bridges, one of the Little Rock Nine, people integrating schools. I think about what they went through during these times. And then fast forward, we're saying, okay, well, at least schools are integrated, yes, but also what's going on behind the scenes, what's undercover that's not being talked about. So I love the fact that we're actually talking about this and bringing this to the table because we're saying, oh, wow, there are issues in America that need to be resolved, and we can't resolve them. We can't change if we don't realize there's actually an issue that needs to be talked about. So salute, number one, to LeBron for bringing it back up to the media, and number two, for people not only with Dak, but also everyone else talking about it.
I'm going to take a minute to talk about this right now. I'm glad you brought up LeBron. This occurred over the Thanksgiving break, kind of, for us, so I wasn't here opining when this happened. And by the time I got back, I tried to bring this up a couple times on air, and whenever I did on the radio and on this show, I got kind of side-eyed looks like, oh, we're moving past that kind of thing, right? We didn't schedule it as topics, anything like that. And then LeBron brought it up, and now it's a topic, and that's why he brought it up. And it's good for Dak to kind of buttress that by saying, hey, you know. And LeBron brought it up in the context of Kyrie. Kyrie amplified a horrible anti-Semitic trope in a despicable work of conspiracy nonsense. Yeah. And his feet were held to the fire. Yeah. We're not moving past this, Kyrie, till we get satisfaction out of you, right? Well, why are we moving past it with Jerry Jones until we get satisfaction? Look, he was 14. We cannot create a situation where people can't grow, where what you did when you were a child should be held against you forever, right? However, there are moments of unambiguous moral points in our history. The good guys and the bad guys. See those white people right there? Those were the bad guys. Those were the bad guys, and Jerry Jones stood with the bad guys on the wrong side of history. Now he has to answer for that. Jerry, you got to answer for it. And what he can't say is, I was just curious. Come on, man. Yeah. What you can say is, look, everyone's a product of their environment. I have grown a lot since then, et cetera. And I want to say one last thing for people who tell me, oh, he's made so many black millionaires, Jerry Jones. He hasn't made a single one. Let me explain something to you. If you don't believe me, make everyone on the Dallas Cowboys a free agent right now. They're all going to make at least as much money as they're making right this moment. Someone else will pay them. Oh, but they won't get their market value. You know why? Because Jerry Jones brought in the salary cap to keep labor from making what they're actually worth. Now, look, malpractice lawsuits, as Gladwell wrote in one of those books that you buy at the airport, are more correlated with bedside manner than results. People like a good bedside manner. So Donald Sterling and Dan Snyder, through the years, have been enough pieces of behavior where people are like, this is a good excuse to get rid of these guys. Jerry Jones has a good bedside manner. People like Jerry Jones. And so he gets to slide more. And I'm glad that people like Jerry Jones. I hope he continues to be a guy people like. but he's got to answer for this, and he has not done so to my satisfaction so far. We've talked plenty of Mahomes versus Joe Burrow. Chiefs, Bengals. Joe Burrow beat Kansas City twice last season, including in the AFC Championship at Arrowhead, because he's a gangster. Burrow is 2-0 versus Patrick Mahomes, including the playoffs, and could be the first to beat Mahomes 3 times in a row. He's currently the only quarterback to face Mahomes multiple times and not lose. Tom Brady is the only quarterback with 3 career wins over Mahomes. Also, the only other quarterback other than Joe Burrow to stop Mahomes from getting to the Super Bowl. I love this game. We are joined by the great Coach Herm Edwards. Coach, I got to tell you, guys, this is the way I do it this time of year. I look at a team and I say, is that a 1-loss team, a 2-loss team? The Chiefs are very good. Mahomes means a lot. He's the best player in football. But I think they're going to get popped at least once before the end of the season. I thought it might happen against Justin Herbert and the Chargers. They squeaked by. I think it's going to happen against Joe Burrow and the Bengals. He's getting Jamar Chase back. Let's assume Jamar Chase plays. They started to roll even without Chase. Their number 2 is really a number 1 in Higgins. Their number 3 in Boyd is really a number 2. They have Joe Big. They got a lot, the Cincinnati Bengals. Coach, am I right? I think they popped the Chiefs.
I think they can win this game. Obviously, they're confident in playing the Chiefs, but I think a couple things have to come into mind. The Chiefs are the number 1 scoring offense, and they're number 1 on 3rd down. And so you got to get off the field. If you allow these Chiefs to stay on the field, you're going to be in trouble. I do know this: the Cincinnati Bengals, have a nice offensive passing attack. And here's the deal with the Chiefs: this is their Achilles heel. They're a little bit loose playing with the football. When you think about it, they do a lot of things that excite you, but they put the ball on the ground a lot, and they've thrown some interceptions. That could be a problem in playoff games. This is not a playoff game, but it's kind of a look at what playoff teams look like. Turnovers become a big problem when you play a good offense, and the Chiefs can't turn the ball over against Cincinnati because they'll capitalize on the turnovers.
Nico, and not only that, the Bengals defense has been playing better than advertised recently, and the Chiefs have not faced a lot of good defenses this year. We're waiting for Lamar. We're waiting for Josh Allen. We're waiting for Justin Herbert even to make the playoffs to try to get over that Chiefs hump. The only young quarterback who's done it is Joe Burrow. What do you see here?
Well, I think that this matchup's going to come down to number 1, can the Kansas City Chiefs play 4 quarters? The last time that they played, they didn't play in the second half. So Kansas City was able to put up good points in the first half, second half, 2 interceptions. That's not what you want to do. Cincinnati Bengals, you got to tip your hat to them. They did a great job. Lou Anarumo, the defensive coordinator, had a lot more 3-man rush, dropping extra guy out into coverage. So that's a little bit tough when you're Patrick Mahomes. You're not expecting that. So I think in this matchup, they'll probably mix some things in defensively. They have good pass rush, the Cincinnati Bengals. So you can't just do the same blueprint and expect that to work against the Chiefs, because they're going to watch the tape. They're going to game plan against the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, I really think it just comes down to playing 4 quarters and protecting the football. So whoever throws an interception could possibly be the outcome of the game.
Brooke, the AFC belongs to the Chiefs. They host the championship game every year of Mahomes' career as a starter. They host it. On the other hand, the Bengals just beat them to get to the Super Bowl. If they somehow beat them in a rematch, if it gets to that point again, all of a sudden you look and you go, oh, maybe the Bengals own the AFC, right? Is this a bigger game for the Chiefs, though, to prove that they can beat Joe Burrow's Bengals, which they haven't done?
I think that maybe that's the perception outside the building, that we all feel like, oh, well, gosh, Patrick Mahomes hasn't beaten the Bengals. I mean, can we say that he's even great if he hasn't beaten Joe Burrow? But here's the thing. Inside this locker room, they're saying we have had this circled on the calendar. Andy Reid said he's noticed everyone on edge. I think it's a situation for a lot of individual players to exercise some demons. I mean, Chris Jones had opportunities to make some game-changing plays there in the second half when the Chiefs just couldn't get anything done defensively. He knows that. He's playing on another level. We talk a lot about this Chiefs offense, but their defense is not that bad. Chris Jones is having a great year. He's just being overshadowed by some other guys around the league. And then Patrick Mahomes, the way that he kind of fell apart there in the second half, he said, look, we were up so big at halftime that we felt, maybe we can just coast through the second half. That's not going to happen this year. I don't think, are going to get too high for something like that to creep back into their minds. But I think that the Chiefs want to win this one so that they can prove to themselves we're better than what we showed last year.
Coach?
A lot of good points there. I do believe this. When you continue to lose to a team, that becomes motivation. And right now, everyone's talking about Cincinnati beating Kansas City. Obviously, Kansas City has the opportunity to host all these playoff games at home, which is a great advantage. But I think this is a game that the Chiefs, going on the road, playing Cincinnati, they want to squash all this noise. Because it comes a point to where if a team keeps beating you, then it becomes like, this is not good, right? Because every time a team beats you, they get more confidence when they play you.
Thank you, Coach. And if I had anyone in the NFL on my team, it'd be Patrick Mahomes. If I could have anyone else, it would be Joe Burrow. These are my 1 and 2 guys. I'm not kidding. Everyone laughs. I take Joe Burrow over anyone else other than Patrick Mahomes. Let's get into the fantasy facts as we are now officially into a very crucial Week 13 for many owners out there. Mike Clay joins us to give you the best advice. He won our DFS contest last week. Mike, one of the best games of the weekend features the Chiefs and the Bengals. We've been talking about it. Why do you like Joe Burrow this week?
Well, I like Joe Burrow every week because he has been awesome this season. At least 16 fantasy points in 10 of his 11 games. He's averaging a little over 23 fantasy points per game. This is a big step up from where he was last season. We know what he does with his arm. He's top 5 in pretty much every category, but also up there in rushing categories as well. He has 4 rushing touchdowns this season. This might surprise some people, but this is a good matchup. The Chiefs have allowed 22 touchdowns through the air to quarterbacks this season. That is second most in the NFL. You think about the other QB1s they face like Burrow, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert, even Tom Brady. They all scored at least 19 fantasy points against the Chiefs this season. Burrow's going to be throwing it a ton. He's a great play this week.
They faced some quarterbacks this year, though, as you go through the list. Let's look at your Week 13 lineup.
Yeah, let's do it here. So I mentioned Burrow, a quarterback. I think Dameon Pierce with an easier matchup bounces back this week. I love him at under 6K this week. Travis Etienne. I'm going back to the Josh Jacobs. Well, he was fantastic last week, and he's facing maybe the worst run defense in the NFL with the Chargers, so I'm firing him up again. Garrett Wilson, loved him last week. He came through. Christian Watson, Pat Freiermuth. But of course, I'm firing up Terry McLaurin here.